Order. Members of the public may attend the City Council meeting in person or may watch or listen remotely by viewing the meeting on Channel 8, WCTV, and at the city's website at wayzata.org/WCTV. Public comments through the public forum and/or public hearing portions of the meetings may be provided in person at the meeting in advance or by logging into the Teams call and raising your hand during the public hearing. When your name is called in the meeting, you will be seen and heard in our council chambers and the cable channel. You'll be asked to unmute and then you begin your comments. All public comments should include your first name and the neighborhood or group that you represent. With that, the second item on our agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. If I could ask everyone to stand if you are able and follow along. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next is our roll call, and let the record reflect that all council members are present this evening. I also then need to read a statement about a meeting held earlier tonight. Earlier this evening, the Wayzata City Council held a closed session meeting. The session was closed pursuant to Minnesota Statute 13D.05 Subdivision 3B, the attorney-client privilege exception to the open meeting law. The meeting was closed to permit the council to meet with its attorneys to review and candidly and openly discuss absolute, confidential, and privileged matters related to the following litigation. Alden C. Adams, 225 Manitoba Avenue, LLC, Olivia A. Adams, Wayzata Cottage, LLC, and Robert Fisher as trustee of Robert Fisher Trust, July 8, 2016, plaintiffs and versus the City of Wayzata, defendant. And then Jeffrey Lee Holmers, 306 Berry Avenue North, LLC, Scott Trips, 1020 Lake Street East, LLC, Anna Azamstajkova and Yevgeny Organovich, plaintiffs versus City of Wayzata, defendant. That was our closed meeting. In addition to that, we had an open workshop to discuss the presentation of the draft landscape design for Panaway. With that, our next item is to approve tonight's agenda. I would need a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll make that motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
That passes 5-0. The next item is our public forum. And just as a reminder, those here in the public attendance tonight and are interested in speaking, please state your first name and street name or indicate if you're representing a group and limit your comments to 3 minutes. If it's on the agenda, it's a different card. I think we have one item for, do we want to do the agenda items first and then the card? Okay, so we have 2 agenda items on the public forum. The first is the update from the Heritage Preservation Board on the historical trolley tour event scheduled. So we'll go to the city manager on that.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The Heritage Preservation Board has been hard at work planning an event, so we wanted to give them the opportunity to share that with you and the community. So I'll turn it over to Community Development Director Alex Sharp.
Thank you, Manager Yeager. As stated, HPB, or Heritage Preservation Board, has been working on an event. Stacy Dahl, who joined the Heritage Preservation Board this year, so this is her first major task with the board, is going to share with the public and council more details of the event.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. Again, my name is Stacy Dahl, and I'm a member of the Wayzata Heritage Preservation Board. We have a really fun event coming up. We're partnering with the Lake Minnetonka Historical Society to put on a trolley event. Basically, it'll stop at some of the bigger sites throughout Wayzata, and it'll be an informative tour. This will take place Sunday, May 17th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. And there will be 3 guided trolley tours with start times scheduled for 11:15, 12:30, and 1:45 p.m. The tours are expected to last about 40 minutes, and pickup and drop off will be at the Wayzata Depot at 402 Lake Street. Just to give you a little heads up, we do have all 3 tours sold out. However, if someone is still interested in attending and going on the trolley, we recommend signing up on the wait list. In case somebody drops off, we'll give you a call, or if there's a no-show. Also, it helps us know if, how much further interest there is in the future for a similar event. But yeah, that's a good problem to have that we're sold out currently. But yeah, if you're interested, go ahead and visit the Lake Minnetonka Historical Society website. Otherwise, we have an Eventbrite link. It's Wayzata trolleytour.eventbrite.com. Thank you.
Any questions? Okay, thank you for that
Yeah, thank you.
information. Next on our public forum is the introduction of our Wayzata superintendent, but is this just a reference or?
Yeah, that's what I was going to comment back to. I just checked my email again and I didn't see that they confirmed back that this time worked. So guessing that I don't see them here tonight, I do not believe they will be here.
Do you want to just make reference just that we have a new superintendent incoming and that we'll try to bring that back at a later date?
Yeah, exactly. So the school district had reached out and is trying to make sure that the new superintendent, Dr. Robb just gets a chance with all the city councils that they represent to introduce him to the communities and whatnot. So we'll try for that another time to make that introduction.
Okay, thank you. So next we have one blue card for public forum, and this is Mr. Kevin Sullivan, representing Minnesota Sons of the American Revolution. So if you would approach the dais and state your name and who you're representing, and then your agenda item. Thank you, and welcome.
Thank you.
I should say welcome back. We've had you before.
Yes, I was here last year, and thank you for receiving me tonight. Last year, when I was here, the Sons of the American Revolution made an offer to the city of Wayzata to present a bench commemorating the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence, and that meeting that we had that night was received very favorably, and we had a next meeting with Peter Hitch and with Jeff Dahl to talk about how we do that and where it's executed and where we're going to put it and all those kinds of things. And it's getting pretty close to the 4th of July, and I just wanted to make sure that the city of Wayzata was still interested in receiving our donation of a bench to the city of Wayzata. So that's why I'm here tonight.
Okay. So city manager, we were aware of this request, and where does it, I mean, what do we need to do to formally accept this, or what is the right steps?
Yeah, so I believe Mr. Sullivan reached out last week or the week before inquiring about this. And so there's a couple of locations that we could look at. We'd bring it back to the council for acceptance of the donation and the location. You may remember earlier this year we did something similar with the Daughters of the American Revolution. They donated a Liberty Tree. So there's some discussion that Mr. Sullivan had brought up, should the bench go near that tree, or would maybe putting it somewhere in Depot Park be more appropriate? So I can talk with Mr. Sullivan, and then we'll bring that back forward for the city council to consider the acceptance of that donation.
I don't recall any objections when the first concept was brought up, so it's just now work out the details with our staff, if I'm interpreting you correctly.
That sounds great. So we'll chat. So
Absolutely.
okay, so it's a mostly yes. So that's really encouraging, and I'll contact our monument company that is going to be doing the engraving and whatnot with it, and tell them that it's quite likely that we'll be able to move ahead.
Well, I'm not hearing any reason we can't move ahead. It's just getting into
Yep.
where does it going to be located, and then
Yep.
formal acceptance from a paperwork perspective.
Yeah, that's just what I want to hear. So
Okay.
thank you.
Well, thank you, and thank you for your generosity in stepping up to provide this gift in honor of the country's 250-year.
Well, and it's, this is the only thing that I've got left to say, is that the city of Wayzata has been so good to the Sons of the American Revolution, the Daughters of the Revolution, and the Children of the Revolution for its unwavering and continuous support for the Flying Pancake Breakfast that we've been doing for over 20 years. So we had numerous cities that we could have donated this to, but it made a lot of sense for us to donate it to somebody that has been on board with us for a long time and has been a great partner. So thank you, and we appreciate all that you've done for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone on Teams, City Manager?
Mr. Mayor, there is not.
Okay, so the next item on our agenda is to discuss new agenda items. Does council have any new agenda items that they'd like to bring up at this time? Hearing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda, and we're going to do this a little bit different tonight, and I'll explain that. I'm first going to read the body of the consent agenda items. Then I am going to recuse myself from voting on agenda item L, which I'll note in a minute. I'm going to turn it over to Mayor Pro Tem Councilmember Plekish to address that item, where I'll abstain from action. Then we'll bring back the balance of the other items, and then Councilmember McDonald would like to provide commentary, not necessarily pulling or changing action on item F. So we're just going to take it in 2 steps, and I'll guide us through it, and it'll be simple and tidy. So first, I'm going to read the balance of what's on the consent agenda. First is approval of local board and appeal equalization and regular city council meeting minutes of April 7th, 2026. Approval of check register, approval of municipal licenses, approval of professional services agreement with Steen Engineering for HVAC construction documents, adoption of resolution 21-2026, accepting the donation from the Wayzata Crime Coalition, adoption of resolution 22-2026, accepting the donation from Tom Shaver, Kurt Klaprick, and Ed Turnquist, approval of the 2026 Sidewalk Cafe permit renewals, adoption of resolution 23-2026, amending planning commission bylaws, approval of professional services agreement with GTEL Advisors LLC for records and management system procurement and implementation support for the Wayzata Police Department, approval of the second reading and adoption of ordinance 857 and 858, amending chapter 805 of the park dedication and fee schedule, approval of the second reading and adoption of ordinance 860, amending the official zoning map of the city of Wayzata at 1022/1042 Wayzata Boulevard East. And lastly, approval of amendments to seasonal lease agreement for Wayzata Beach recreational equipment rentals. So as I stated before, the first action, I'm going to recuse myself from the vote and ask the Mayor Pro Tem to provide a consent action on approval of item L. Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay, Mayor, I'll go ahead and take the gavel for this one vote. It's very simple. Approval of amendment to seasonal lease agreement for Wayzata Beach recreational equipment rentals. Is there any discussion or commentary before I take a vote? Then I would ask all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? No?
And I'm abstaining.
Okay, so that motion carries 4-0 with 1 abstention.
Thank you.
Mayor, back over to you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Now we'll go to the balance of the consent agenda items, but Councilmember McDonald has asked that we just have discussion on item F before we take a vote, which is adoption of resolution 22-2026, accepting the donation from Tom Shaver, Kurt Klaprick, and Ed Turnquist. Ms. McDonald.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to start off by saying that I support this item and this incredible tribute and donation to Mr. Clappridge. But may I ask a question of Planner Keiser? When we looked at this item in our Public Art Committee, we talked about the sort of the background of the backdrop to this lovely statue. And I wanted to see if there was either a will from this body or a will from staff that we could address that sort of background and make sure that maybe we roll that into the city's offer of making the concrete pad. I took a couple pictures this morning that I don't know how I would share with you, but if I need to, happy to do that. But basically, where the statue sits, behind it is a bit of a storage area for public works, and there's some things that I think if people were to stand in front of and take a picture of this statue, it would stand out like a sore thumb and look like a mess. So just some fencing but if we could have that included and at the same time, so it wasn't an afterthought.
Yeah, Councilmember McDonald, a few thoughts on this, actually. I actually just met with our parks lead yesterday to discuss kind of cleaning up that area just in general over there in Clappers Park, since there's going to be a lot more people out there now in general. And I'll also note that this is just the acceptance of the donation. And after this, if approved, we're going to start working on a specific agreement where a lot of those little details are going to be worked out. That's going to come back to the city council for approval too. So hopefully at that time in that agreement, we'll have some additional details and information about, that backdrop or
Okay.
all those other little items with this donation.
Apologize for holding us up. Thank you.
Yeah, but I just want to echo what you're asking for. You're just saying on the city side of the ledger, in addition to preparing the actual pad for the statue, is to have a background suitable, and I don't think that's an unreasonable ask, and I wouldn't expect anyone up here to object to that. Seeing none? Nope. So then I think it's just include that in the city's part of
Yep.
the ultimate plan. Okay.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for that additional discussion. So now I'm going to package up the balance of our consent agenda, which just excludes item L, which we acted on independently. So I would accept a motion on the remaining items of 7A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, and L. I would accept a motion to approve that as part of our consent agenda.
I'll make that motion for you.
Excluding
Mr.
L,
Mayor,
please.
yeah,
Excluding L.
excluding L.
Yep.
Thank you.
I'll make that motion for you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. And may I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
That passes 5-0, so that should take care of the consent agenda. There is no public hearing tonight, so we're moving right along to new business. We have one item on our new business this evening, which is to consider award of contract to Creekside Lawn and Landscape for the Library Path and Garden Project.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Parks and Environment Planner Nick Keyser is going to give this overview of this project that the Parks and Trails Board has been working on that was part of our Parks and Trails Master Plan. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Keyser.
Thank you, Manager Yeager and Mr. Mayor and Council. So again, I'll go over a presentation for the consideration of award of a contract to Creekside Lawn and Landscape for the Library Path and Garden Project at our City Hall Park and Children's Garden here. So to start with a little bit of background, this project is actually listed and shown in our Parks and Trails Master Plan. The Master Plan was approved in 2019, at the end of 2019. And this project was also listed in the Park CIP at the time, along with all the other projects in the Parks and Trails Master Plan. More recently, the Parks and Trails Board had more specific or detailed discussions regarding this project in 2025 and 2026. I'll note that this project has been a high priority for the Parks and Trails Board. It's been kind of pushed off every now and then over the years, based really just on the bigger projects that the board was working at those times. You can think the beach playground, the Bell Courts reconstruction, middle school tennis courts reconstruction, and more recently the Clappers Park project. And now this seems like the board felt that this was a good time to bring this project forward because we're kind of in transition for some of the bigger projects that are proposed in the CIP and the master plan here at this time. And overall, the board feels that this project presents a new connection between the Children's Garden and the City Hall Park, which I'll go into in a little bit later here. It activates a more underutilized space and could potentially lead to some educational opportunities and more programming in that space, in that park too. The Parks Department actually, when they knew that this project was coming up, they actually recommended adding additional scope, which I'll talk about here in a second too, which would include updating the garden beds in the lookout area. Overall, or ultimately, the board recommended approval of the expanded project scope and award of the contract to Creekside Lawn and Landscape. And so based on that recommendation and the proposed scope, staff solicited 3 estimates from contractors based on that scope, which I'll go into here too. So this is a plan set or plan sheet from the master plan, the Parks and Trails master plan. So this is the proposed plan for the City Hall Park and Children's Garden. And I'll note just the Children's Garden is essentially everything just north of the library. City Hall Park is south of the library, as kind of noted to the right there. And also on the right is kind of a list of the proposed projects that we had for this park. And just as notes for those projects listed there, the police memorial we completed a number of years ago. The game cart, the board didn't see as a big priority, so that was overall kind of just removed from the scope of this project. Lighting improvements along the existing stairway there. There is a CIP item in 2028 to explore options if that's needed or wanted. So at that time, we'll kind of look at that in more detail to see if that's something we need to do. But the item that we're really focused on here today is the gate and path there on the east side of the library. Then the last note is just the existing children's garden, which there's no proposed improvements for at this time. There's a little bit more context. This is just some images. They're also included in the council packet too, to show the existing conditions of where we're talking about and what this location, where this location is and what it has. And so this is on the east side of the library. As you can see, it's really just an open, grassy area. It's really just underutilized space. It's really not used for anything at this time. These are the existing garden beds. I'll kind of note these as the east and west garden beds. There's a southern garden bed that holds the annuals that we won't be touching with this project. And so these are the two garden beds that we're looking at updating as well with this project that I'll note here in a second too. And then just as another note, this is an existing, call it kind of entrance trellis or archway over the existing children's garden entrance, which is on the intersection of Broadway and Rice Street. And this was actually donated by the Wayzata Garden Club back in 2004. And interestingly enough, the Wayzata Garden Club reached out and contacted staff about potential another donation at the children's garden at that time. And we noted this proposed project, and they noted a desire to do something similar to the new opening that we're going to be making and the new pathway that we're going to be making between the children's garden and the City Hall Park. So we're continuing discussions with them to see if they still want to do this, mainly for their 75th anniversary that's coming up. And so we'll continue those conversations, but that can essentially happen at any point if they want to do something very similar to this. And so this is the proposed site plan here. So again, on the east side of the library, there's just going to be that new flagstone, proposed new flagstone path to make that connection. It would match, there's existing flagstone path in the children's garden. So that would be existing flagstone, matching that existing flagstone path there on the east side of the library. And that was kind of the main idea, and which was incorporated in the Parks and Trails Master Plan. And when we looked at that, this also brought up a new opportunity to update some of these garden beds that we have in the City Hall Park. And so, as you noted there in red, the two kind of east and west garden beds that I showed images of, those would be the two garden beds that we would be looking at updating. And the general idea of this whole kind of expanded scope is to make this an edible garden area. So we put a list of different plants and species that we'd be looking at adding to these garden beds, but think strawberries, blueberries, asparagus, all different types of edible garden plants. And then also alongside the flagstone path, there's about 10 fruit trees that we'd be planning on planting from, noted there as apple, cherry, and plum trees. And then also some herb planters there as well on the south side of the library. In addition to this, really to help with maintenance of this overall park in general and improve on the maintenance of this park, as it currently sits, we'd be looking at adding new irrigation to those east and west garden beds and adding some kind of drip irrigation to the herb planters and some irrigation bubblers to those new fruit trees there as well. Again, just to help with overall maintenance of the site. So we can go into any more details of that if you'd like, but moving on to the estimates here, or the quotes that we received. So these are the three companies that we received estimates from. The lowest was from Creekside Lawn and Landscape for $40,200. As a note, in the 2020, there's an item in the 2026 Park CIP allocation of $53,600. And Creekside Lawn and Landscape actually completed the 2025 project at Heritage Park, which was somewhat of a similar project where they updated garden beds, added some irrigation, and fixed some of the brick walkways or paver walkways there in Heritage Park. And the park staff noted that they worked well together with Creekside Lawn and Landscape, so we're confident that they would be able to complete this project in a similar fashion. From a timeline perspective, the contractor noted their availability here just early summer. If this would be approved, be a week or two long project, and so they would be hopeful that they could get in here still in May to complete this project, if approved. So with that, I'll bring it back to Mr. Mayor and Council for any questions.
Questions of staff at this time?
Yep, I have one that came to mind is, I think it's interesting that you were looking at an edible garden of trees and bushes and so on. Was that just serendipity, or is there something behind it? Is it going to be part of some kind of educational thing? I mean, people have to know that they can walk there and pull blueberries off and eat them as they're walking, but what's the history behind that?
Yeah, Councilmember Pleckish, good question. And this actually came up as an idea from our Parks Department. I'll give a little shout out to Robb Savage, as kind of his brainchild to do this. And this is something that he was really excited about. He brought it forward to the Parks and Trails Board, and they loved it too. And when we're thinking about kind of new opportunities, we've already started to talk about, some potential signage for these different plants and species, and working potentially with community ed, as they already do some programming in this park, and doing some kind of classes or programming with those folks too, to kind of bring more activity to the space as well. So a few items on that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions of staff at this time? Seeing none, then I'd bring it back to council then. So we would either need any further discussion on it, or we could go right to a motion to award the contract to Creekside Lawn and Landscape for the Library Path and Garden Project. So does anyone want to weigh in with any commentary before we move on to a motion? Hearing none, then I would accept a motion to award the contract for new business item A to Creekside Lawn and Landscape for the Library Path and Garden Project. Who would like to make that motion?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Pleckish. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilmember McDonald. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
That passes 5-0. Next on our agenda is our city manager's report. Ms. Yeager.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. May is a busy month, so there's a lot of updates and events that I want to make you and the community aware of. The first is that there's obviously construction going on Highway 12. This weekend is the second full weekend closure of Highway 12. So I just want everybody to be aware that starting at 10 p.m. on Friday through 5 a.m. Monday, just like last weekend, Highway 12 is going to be completely closed in both directions. And there are detours from 494 up to 55 and down on 101 again. So it's kind of out of the way, but this is the last remaining full closure of the highway for the duration of the construction project. So I want to make sure everybody's aware of that. Now on to a multitude of events that we have going on in the community. The first is there's an opportunity, if you're ecologically inclined, there's a tree planting event on May 11th. That's a Monday from 8 to 2:30 at 380 Broadway Avenue North. The city and county staff are trying to plant over 500 trees. So if you're interested and want to help plant a tree, no experience is necessary. They'll teach you how to do it. Also, following on the cue of talking about our park system, we are going to be celebrating the opening of Clapbridge Park on May 14th. That's a Thursday from 5 to 7 p.m. Community Ed is also going to be out there. There's going to be, I think, bounce houses, a lot of programming planned to just really celebrate this great community park for everybody. The next item is on May 16th, we have Dig It Day. We have signups available now on our website. If you're interested in helping plant some of the beautiful annual flowers that get planted around the city, we'd be interested in having you sign up for that. And you can sign up as an individual, as a group. It's a great way to get involved and help make the city beautiful on Saturday, May 16th. And then you already heard from earlier tonight that the historical trolley tour is on May 17th, and it is amazingly already sold out. So there's been a lot of interest for that. So I was going to say sign up if you haven't already, but I guess in this case, sign up for the wait list. And that's all I have for you.
Okay, questions of city manager at this time?
Just a quick one. The trolley tour, is that going to be using the old trolley that used to make rounds in Wayzata? Do you know?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. I know they had to rent it. I don't think it's the same one, though.
Okay.
I just had a quick one. I know the city distributes trees in and around this time of year that come up towards the end of May. When does that?
That's a really good question. So we had our free tree giveaway, I believe was May 2nd.
Okay.
So we took, people could sign up to get those, and those were claimed very quickly, way before the deadline.
Those already been distributed?
Yep.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any other questions of city manager? Do we have anyone for a public forum?
Mr. Mayor, we do not.
So I would accept a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.